Let's think about what this might look like in a full 90-minute math class from start to finish. We'll use a third grade lesson as our example. This is third grade, Unit 1, Day 5, and the learning target is to use arrays to represent and understand multiplication. You can see the two standards here that go with this learning target. And for your reference, it's important to know that students did use arrays in second grade, so they may already be familiar with them, but we have not yet used them in this third grade unit. We start our lesson off with an opening routine. In second grade, that's 15 minutes. In third grade, it's about 10. Opening routines are really open and they let students share their ideas, let them think and talk as they ease into the lesson. So I might ask, what do you notice? What do you wonder? I'll give them time to think, time to turn and talk, and then we'll share out whole group and I will record their ideas on the board. It will be interesting to see, does anyone use the word array? Do they talk about rows or columns? It's kind of like a formative assessment, and we're getting these ideas, this vocabulary words, we're pulling them from students. Then we dive into our formative task, which is about 20 minutes. It starts with a launch where we read this problem to students. Then we ask them a couple of questions to make sure that they understand. What's happening in this problem? What's the question asking? Okay, it says, do you agree with Mia? What is it that Mia said? We want to make sure they understand what the question's asking, but we don't give away or suggest strategies. We give them about 5 minutes to work, we circulate to see what they're doing, and then it's time for a debrief. During the debrief, we'll choose maybe 3 or so pieces of student work that we will share and discuss. I chose, I know they're fake, but this one, and this one. I'll show them one at a time and I'll ask students, what do you notice about this work? What did this student say? Do you agree? Do you disagree? How is this similar to your work? What do they mean when they say groups up and down? What do they mean when they say rows? We ask these questions so that we can pull ideas out of students. Students can learn from each other and we can gain insight into what they know. We'll use that insight to help as we do the guided instruction. This is about 10 minutes in second grade, about 15 in third. Students hopefully brought up the word array already, and if they did, I'll say that. You already brought up the word array. An array is an arrangement of objects in rows and columns. And I'll ask students, what does that mean, row? What does that mean, column? I might have to give them a definition, but I want to pull ideas from them. And then I might say, well, how many rows do you see? How many columns do you see? Can we write a multiplication equation to represent this array? I'm asking questions and pulling ideas from students as I guide them through the learning. Then I'll give them a problem or two to practice as I circulate to see, can they identify the number of rows, columns, and multiplication equations? Then it's time for inclusive student activities, which is about 35 minutes. You won't necessarily do all of these options on a given day, but you will most likely give them practice problems for their book, you'll pull a small group, and then maybe you'll play a game or do a station. We want to give students opportunities to practice, apply, and extend what they learned so far in the lesson. We might go back and do some fluency to refresh and solidify earlier learning as well. Then we move into the reflective closure. This is about 10 minutes long, and that might seem like a long time for a closure, but that's because it has 2 parts. We start with a question for discussion. How are arrays similar to equal groups? I'll give them a chance to talk about that, maybe to do a turn and talk and to share out. We're bringing our learning together from the whole class. Then I'll give them a closing task, which is like an exit ticket, one final chance to apply what they've learned and to give me information as I plan tomorrow's lesson. So if you take a look at these gears in my lower right-hand corner, you'll see that our math block, our 90 minutes, has 5 different components. We start really open with students' ideas, and then we filter down toward the learning target as we get to guided instruction. We make sure they understand what arrays are and how they represent multiplication. We give them a chance to practice and apply, and we wrap it up with our reflective closure. That's the math block, all 90 minutes.